Hi, my name is Mark McPherson. I'm a water rights and environmental lawyer in Dallas, Texas. The state of Texas is significantly changing the way it manages its groundwater. These changes came from the past legislative session due to three different bills that passed. You had Senate Bill 660, Senate Bill 727, and Senate Bill 737. In effect, these statutes have required so many changes that the Texas Water Development Board decided to repeal their current groundwater management rules entirely and just start over, basically from scratch. Now, these statutes took effect September 1st of 2011. And as is customary when a statute of this type passes that requires a rules project of this sort, certainly one this big, the Water Development Board started its process to draft these new rules by holding a meeting for those interested in groundwater management. We were able to give our thoughts as to what those rules should cover and what those rules should not cover, and to the extent they should cover something, kind of ideas as to how they might go about doing that. Well, that meeting was held on January 9th of 2012, and I attended that meeting down in Austin at the Water Development Board. Now, the audience that day basically broke down into three opposing groups, and if you're wondering how three groups can oppose each other, just follow along. The first group was comprised of lawyers who represent the groundwater conservation districts and members of the groundwater conservation districts. The second group was comprised of lawyers that represent clients who need to use groundwater, who rely on groundwater, mostly for their businesses, whether it be real estate development, energy companies, so forth. The third group was really public interest groups, and that kind of broke down depending on what their particular interest was. Now, in addition to just holding a meeting where we could show up and talk about them, and in some instances, some of what went down, what we did there was ask the Water Development Board questions as to what their thoughts were. There was also a written comment period, and so those written comments were due by the end of January 2012 to the very 1st of February 2012. I think there were about 10 or 12 individuals or entities that filed comments. I filed, one of those was me, on behalf of some of my energy clients. Most of those comments were made by groundwater conservation districts. Now, the Water Development Board then took those suggestions, they used what they liked, they discarded what they didn't, and they came up with a set of pre-publication proposed rules. Now, those were distributed on Monday, August 6th, 2012. They're about 19 pages long if you print them out, but they're really not. That's kind of misleading because they're double spaced and the margins are about 2 inches instead of 1, and so forth. So it's really not that big of not that long of a rules. So then the Water Development Board held another hearing just this past Wednesday, August 22nd, 2012, to receive comments on these pre-publication draft rules. Again, it was from anyone that was interested. I attended that meeting also. Kind of the same cast of characters showed up, and some of the comments and concerns we had from the January meeting carried over into the August meeting. Well, like they did in January and February, the Water Development Board is going to take all the comments that they receive on their pre-published draft rules. They will use the comments they like, they'll discard the ones that they don't, and they will come out with a proposed set of rules for formal statewide consideration and adoption. Those will be published in the Texas Register. It's what all agencies have to publish their new proposed rules in. There'll be about a 30-day or so public comment period on that, and then after the comment period, the Water Development Board will consider again whatever comments are received in the formal process before they vote to adopt the final rules. Now, the expectation is that the initial rules will be finalized by September 11 of 2012 because they're set on the Water Board's agenda that day for preliminary approval. And in relative terms, you got a better chance of affecting the substance of these rules right now than you do in the later public comment period on the formally proposed rules. But there are still, as of today, 2 different comment periods that are still open. One will be from now until practically the end of August. So it'll be just a few more days. But those are very, very important days. The final approval after the public comment period is expected in December of 2012. So I think they're pretty much on a pretty fast track to me, even though it took us quite a bit of time to get from January of discussing all these in theory to August 6th, where we finally had one set of rules that we could actually look at and comment specifically on. Now in the next video, I'm going to discuss the various points of contention that exist over these draft rules. So if you rely on Texas groundwater, then I strongly encourage you to get these rules for comment and look them over, make sure that they work for you, make sure that whatever does not work for you, get your comments into the Water Development Board on a timely basis, whether it be this time on or before August 31st, or be prepared to do it in the public comment period later. If you want a copy of the rules, if you want a copy of my letter commenting on the rules back in January, February, or if you would like a professional paper that I've written that goes into significant detail on the statutes that we're dealing with, please call my office. It's 214-722-7096, or you can send me an email to Mark, M-A-R-K, at texasenvironmentalaw.com, and my office will be happy to send one of those out to you. Be sure to specify which one of those you'd like. Make sure we have good contact information to get back to you. Again, the next video, I'll discuss the points of contention in this rule project.